gonna do it on the TV.
Yeah, just turn it on.
Hello.
No, I turn off the mics. I turn off the mics for us doing this.
So you turn off the mic?
Yeah. But I'm about to turn them on now. Even though this thing says it's reading this.
I can't hear anything.
Even though this thing says it's reading this. Oh. I guess it's going through. Hey everybody, it's KBR Sports, the best sports talk show of your 24-hour day. I'm your host, Brendan Abbott, with my co-host, Khalid Lewis, and our other co-host is going to be a little bit late to the show today, but yeah, we're bringing you KBR Sports today. How you doing, Khalid?
I'm doing well. Just had a test. I'm kind of scared about it.
Why?
Because I feel like I knew half the test, and the rest I tried to guess.
What?
Because when I studied most of it. And then I looked at it, I was like, wow, this wasn't in the notes.
Oh my gosh. That moment where you look at your test and then it doesn't match the study guide at all, I'm guessing.
I was scared.
That's funny. But guys, on today's show, the topics we got slated for today, man, obviously Super Bowl recap, looking over all things that happened in the Super Bowl, just talking about it, talking about the game in itself, talking about the Denver Broncos, great defense, how they pretty much put a whooping on the Panthers offense and just held them the whole game. Then we'll also get into, how good could the Panthers be moving forward? Everybody always says, oh yeah, you'll be back. But I'm pretty sure people said the same thing about, the old Eagles team from back when they lost to the Patriots. That Eagles team never came back to the Super Bowl. People probably said the same thing about the 49ers when they lost to the Ravens. That team never made it back to the Super Bowl. So, yeah, we'll get into that. But also we'll talk about the Warriors and the Thunder's game, and the Warriors winning that game. Actually, that was a game we actually on here have been talking about for a good while, talking about how we wanted to see what team can actually beat the Warriors, and we wanted to see one of the top teams in the Western Conference actually give the Warriors a run for their money. And we'll get into that also. But and then to finish off, we'll just talk about the biggest story coming out of the Super Bowl 50. Each of our own perspectives and our own individual opinions. But starting off, Super Bowl 50, man. It wasn't as thrilling as last year's Super Bowl.
It wasn't anything I expected.
You said it wasn't anything you expected? Mm-hmm. What did you expect?
I expected the Panthers to score at least twice.
Yeah. Talk about 2 touchdowns?
Yeah,
man.
But that defense was way superior.
Yeah, man. The defense, it was they came to play. That was what and it was obvious that was what Denver was resting its morals on. It was like, if we're gonna lose from our defense. Like they held the Panthers to 197 yards passing. They had 118 yards rushing total, and total yards they had 315 yards, and the Panthers had 21 first downs on the game.
Yeah.
And I think I saw a stat where they were like 3 for 15 on third down conversion or something like that. Yeah, like the Broncos weren't giving them anything on third down, so that just shows how great the Broncos defense was, and they forced the Panthers into 4 turnovers. So. And obviously, the Panthers lost 24-10. The Broncos came out with it, with Von Miller winning the MVP. So, Khalid, start us off with let me know what you thought of the game and what things you took away from watching that Super Bowl game.
The game was nothing that I expected. I did think that the Panthers were going to do a whole lot more, but that defense kind of Broncos defense just elevated. Like, they went to a whole nother level in the Super Bowl. And it is definitely true when they say that defense wins championships, because they held my man's Cam Newton back. Like, he couldn't get anywhere. He couldn't make any good throws. But he made a couple good throws. He didn't make as many as he should. It was my man's got sacked like right in the red zone, which allowed for the defense to score a touchdown. And it was an ugly game for my man's Cam. everybody put their faith in Cam Newton, saying that he was like this was their year, and it's like a Cinderella story because they weren't good last year, so they came back this year, and now they're at the top of the league, at the top of the the league, and they just get the defense is just so superiority, and the offense was just looking sleek. The Broncos offense, it wasn't as spectacular as it should have been. The run game was dynamic, as Brandon said last time, and because he did who Von Miller scored 2 touchdowns.
No, he got a fumble recovery, I believe. He got a fumble recovery. He had 2 forced fumbles.
Okay.
On Cam Newton, and he recovered one for a touchdown.
But the rushing game, they got the 2 touchdowns.
Was Williams? Oh, okay.
They got the 2 touchdowns, and then the kicker, he got 9 points. So I felt like Peyton Manning should have been just a little better. I wanted to see him play like at Super Bowl level, but he getting old. We even said that he wasn't gonna be playing like as good as he used to, and he was just looking kind of sluggish. Like even in 3rd down and 4th downs, they had to punt it or kick it because he couldn't complete it. But overall, I like seeing the Broncos defense because they are a great defense. Reminds me a little bit of the old Pittsburgh defense.
All right, let me get to Rashad. Rashad, what do you think about the game and what happened?
Watching the game, I mean, everybody knows I picked the Panthers to win.
We all did.
We all did. Yeah. But I did say for the Broncos to win, it comes down to that first quarter.
Yeah, he did.
How they played, how they set the tone in that first quarter would dictate who wins this game. And we saw what happened in the first drive of the Broncos putting up 3 points, and then the first drive of the Panthers,
3-0.
That controversial play.
Mm-hmm.
That challenge that they said wasn't a catch. I don't know what a catch is anymore. That catch was, because think about it. That play, if because Jericho Cotchery caught it and when it took it to their own 40. So even if you get if you have a strip fumble for the rest of that play or for the rest of the time on, it doesn't get recovered for a touchdown.
Right.
And the way the Panthers defense was playing, they weren't giving up any touchdowns, and they didn't give up a touchdown until the 4th quarter.
Right.
So you take that, you change the game from being a 10-0 game to being possibly a 6-0 or to staying a 3-0 game. And then when the Panthers scored, they had to leave.
Yeah.
So go on.
So the defense, I mean, in itself, he still made a good play on the ball to make the ruling as it was.
Yeah.
He made it so it's not, and that'll be a catch. But overall, the defense was a lot better than most expected. People didn't think that Broncos line was going to be as terrifying as it was against Cam Newton, because we've seen Cam Newton make plays with his feet more than a lot of other quarterbacks made against the Broncos.
Yeah.
So when you actually saw it happen against them, that's when you're like, oh snap. They're for real.
Yeah,
like that's what this is where people finally realize how official that defense actually is.
Yeah. So
that defense itself made it a lot easier on Peyton Manning. That's why I don't know if y'all seen some stuff, but people was like, if Peyton Manning rides off this year, he rides off in the passenger seat.
Yeah.
Because that's how dominant his defense was.
Mm-hmm.
So overall, I mean, I can't say. I mean, it was a bad game for the Panthers. It was a pretty good game for the Broncos, but there's a lot of stuff going on in that game that could have changed the tide quickly into the Panthers' favor.
Yeah, I agree with you, because I mean, Rashad called it last week when we were here. He said what happens in the first quarter. I mean, that last week when we were talking about the Broncos, y'all were acting like me and Rashad were tripping for talking about Peyton Manning can continue to play, but but we said if you play with the defense like that, you don't have to be the Super Bowl MVP. You can be a player that just rides on the curtails in that defense. Rashad especially said it, that all you got to do is, after that first quarter, you see the tempo of how the game's going. And, the defense made their staple within the first few minutes of the game. And it seems like that's been the theme of the past few Super Bowls, apart from New England and Seattle. But when you go back to 2 years ago with Seattle and Denver, very first play, what happens? Just a snap that goes over Peyton Manning's head, and then the defense is just taking over the game for the rest of the time. And it seems like now that you don't want to pick a team doesn't have a top defense anymore. I think what a lot of people were thinking when they picked the Panthers was that, okay, the Broncos have the number one defense, but the Panthers have the number one scoring offense, and then they also have the number 6 ranked defense. So, it kind of balances out. And people felt as though Denver's offense wasn't that good to, be able to combat the Panther defense. And honestly, Denver's offense didn't really do anything on the evening. Apart from that one touchdown, they were limited the whole evening. Their defense, if it wasn't for the defense getting them great field position, if anything, the kicker had more points than almost the Panthers did.
Technically, you think about that touchdown, it was a holding penalty on Josh Norman, which led to the touchdown.
Yeah,
so
technically,
you still wouldn't have scored that touchdown.
You know what I mean? Like, their offense was struggling the whole game. Like, the Panthers' defense showed up. It's just that it seemed like it was a lot of Cam versus everyone else. Like, you see, and the thing is, even though there was I think you can count on one hand how many drop passes. I think there was about 4 or 5 drop passes. It's about the points in the game where the drop passes happen. Like, I think there was a point in time when Jericho Cotchery actually on the sideline had caught a pass, and he drops it, and it would have put them right at the goal line. And he drops the pass. There's a 3rd down conversion where they drop a pass, and it's just like you see so many times Cam Newton standing in the pocket and taking these hits. He's getting drilled into the ground, and you're just like,
you even grabbed his shoulder one time.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And you're just sitting there watching it. You're like, man, like, how is anybody gonna give him help? Like,
there was a lot of plays that Cam also blew it too high.
Yeah, he threw it too high. Yeah,
and I mean he had clean pocket too. I mean it's not like he was pressure sometimes. Some of them clean passes.
Yeah, definitely.
You gotta make that. It's probably just that Super Bowl jitters you got.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Especially in his first drive, he had one that was
wide open. Yeah. And I think it was the first down play actually of that first drive. Yeah, he did.
You can't miss stuff like that.
Yeah, you can't.
You gotta be perfect in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's true because I mean. A lot of people I see, they were talking about his body language wasn't the same from all the past games that they've had. I mean, your body language isn't going to be the same when you're losing. But people were saying that they didn't see the same confidence and swagger coming from Cam that they've seen throughout the whole season. And I mean, I can agree with that to an extent. Because I mean, you do have Super Bowl nerves. No matter what anybody tells you, you're gonna have Super Bowl nerves. Like that's just a fact of the matter. Like. Rashad's played in a state championship game. I'm pretty sure Rashad, you felt championship nerves going into that game. And just imagine that was back in high school. Like imagine the Super Bowl. Like this is the game for it all, and you have all this criticism people are directing towards, and you know that the season is essentially. I mean, you still had a great season, but it doesn't amount to anything unless you have the Super Bowl ring at the end of the year. And I mean, I'm done picking against the best defense. Every time the number one defense is going in the Super Bowl, I'm picking the number one defense. That's a fact of the matter because the Broncos had legit 11 first downs. They had 104 yards passing, 90 yards rushing, and they had 194 total yards. Like, they didn't even throw a pass touchdown. Yeah, and that was enough to win the Super Bowl. Like, you know what I mean? Crazy. Like, that just shows that if your defense can get you great field position and they can turn the other team over. The Panthers had 4 turnovers. Yeah, 4 turnovers. So it's like
control the field.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And that's normally been what the Panthers have done throughout the season. That's why their offense was the number one scoring offense because they always had good field position. And then nobody could ever stop Cam Newton or Jonathan Stewart from getting to the end zone. But, I mean, this game, you look at it and you see Cam Newton was the leading rusher, and he had 6 rushing attempts. He ran for 45 yards. Jonathan Stewart rushed the ball 12 times and had 29 rushing yards. Whitaker had 4 rushing attempts, 26 yards. And it's like, man, I mean, you saw. I mean, I heard. I think it was Von Miller who said that he's like, man, they haven't changed nothing up. Like they're doing exactly the same stuff they're doing in the regular season. Because everybody expects that when you go into the Super Bowl, you're going to change up a lot of what you do in the offense. But then the Denver players were surprised when they saw them come out and do the same exact stuff. And I mean, I felt like they're most of their success with running the ball came when Cam Newton carried the ball, even though it came out of situations where the pocket might have collapsed or something like that. That a lot of their most productive runs came on Cam Newton scrambles or design Cam Newton plays. But I think there was a couple of plays where I saw Cam was trying to take the ball out from Jonathan Stewart, and Jonathan Stewart is like taking it, and Cam just gives it to him because he doesn't want it to be a fumble. But
actually, I have 2 key plays in that game that shaped the game. First key play was the read option read option left to Jonathan Stewart, where his ankle got twisted, where he became injured. So now he's playing hurt all game. That's first key play. Second key play was the Jordan Love punt return, where no one
Oh
touched
man, that was bad.
because they assumed they caught a fair catch.
Yeah, that was bad. That was
So
bad.
those two plays right there, it affected Carolina's offense with Jonathan Stewart being banged up, not running the same.
Mhm.
But I mean, they wasn't getting many yards anyway on their defense, and that punt return gave them points.
Yeah.
So technically, those two plays right there, I feel like were huge plays in the game for the Broncos.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. For me, I would just change the first because that punt return was a big play. For me, I would change the play to that challenge, that no call, because that challenge to me is just that's like, because that's what set the tone of the rest of the game. And then it leads to that strip fumble by Von Miller, and it gets the touchdown, and that puts them up 10-0. To me, that's such a big thing. Like, and I heard that one of the refs, like, you know how they have those refs that comment during the game saying, "Oh yeah, this is what the ruling should be because he had his hand under the ball and never touched the ground." But then you see them. He said that one of the refs said that. But then you got the other refs that will all of a sudden, once they see the refs on the field and make the call, they'd be like, "Oh well, it possibly could have been this and that." No, before the call, you said that he had his hand under the ball. Like, I don't even know what a catch is anymore. Like, it's honestly, like, you don't know what the catch is. Des Bryant lunges for the end zone. They rule that not a catch. And even though he made a football motion and they call it not a catch, they call Megatron's thing not a catch. Like, I don't know what a catch is anymore. Like, the NFL needs to, like, get a dictionary definition of what a catch is. Like, if I look at Webster right now,
big games too.
Yeah, you know what I mean? These are all big games that that you can't mess up on a call like that. Like, from the dictionary definition, from what everybody's been taught, Jericho Cotry's catch or Jericho Cotry's play was a catch. But I mean, and it sucks when you know that they have review to look at it from the challenge. Yeah, you know what I mean? And then when you don't reverse that call, I mean, I don't care what ref tells me, whatever, you can give me whatever explanation, I will believe that was a catch. The dude had his hand under the ball when he went to the ground. He didn't use the ground to help him maintain possession of the catch. He kept possession of the catch throughout him going to the ground. That's a catch. And but the thing is, the ball can touch the ground, but the ground can't ail you in making the catch. And the ground didn't help him in making the catch. So that's how I don't understand. But who knows? Who knows? The referees, they see what they see, and we're viewers. That's all we are. We're viewers. We come on the next day, we talk about the game. That's all we can do. We can't go down there and be like, hey. Well, I mean, one thing I also want to see from the game, actually, I want to see what pictures Kevin Durant took, because you know what I mean. Because he was a credentialed photographer at the game, and I'm like, man, did you used to do media photography when you were at Texas? I'm
gonna tell you what happened. Let me tell you what happened.
Go ahead.
After you played Golden State,
come on,
Steph Curry told him to get a new job.
Stop,
because he ain't good enough. Told him to get a new job, so he went to photography.
I saw a meme on Twitter where it was like Steph Curry and his wife, and Steph was like, "Hey, babe, ain't that dude I beat last week? I used to Kevin Durant like this." Yeah. Oh, man. I was like, "Come on, come on, man." But staying with football, going on to the next thing. But we're gonna ask the question. I mean, yes, they lost. And, it was very uncharacteristic of how they lost. Especially from what we've seen from the Go Happy Panthers throughout the season. How good do y'all think the Panthers can be moving forward? I mean, think about it. They had this season relatively with now their number one receiver who would have helped big time in that game, and without Kelvin Benjamin. And you see that they have that experience of being in the Super Bowl, and they have that hunger. And you would assume that hopefully they can keep their core intact for the team to make a run next year, just as Seattle did a few years ago. So how good do y'all see being the team? See, there goes a guy with his Panthers right now. He's going with pride. But how good do y'all see the Panthers being moving forward? Rashad, let me hear your take. What do you think?
See, what you're saying with this drive thing, I completely understand a team with drive, because after we lost our junior year in high school in state, our drive to go back senior year was incredible. Like, that's all we was like, yo, playoffs. There's no such thing as playoffs. If it ain't the championship game, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So that's how that drive is going to be there for the Panthers, no matter who's on that team. That drive is going to be there if they were still on this team this season. The thing is, you have a lot of healthy teams coming back in the NFC who are very competitive, who are actually like teams preseason Super Bowl picks, with like the Cowboys and like the Green Bay Packers with a fully healthy offensive attack.
Yeah,
Then you got Seahawks again, and then you got the Cardinals again, and then you always got the other team who's going to come up, and that changes every year.
Lucky. It could be Minnesota.
It could be Minnesota.
Could be the Redskins.
It could be the Redskins.
Who knows?
You never know. The NFC is a tough conference to go to the Super Bowl back-to-back years. That's why you got to commend the Seattle Seahawks for doing it. What, 3 straight seasons? Two straight seasons.
They went to the.
They beat the Broncos and lost to the Patriots.
Yeah, they beat the Broncos, lost to the Patriots, and they lost this year. And I think the year before that, that's when they got knocked out in the first round by the Saints. I think. I think it was either when they got knocked out in the first. Because that year was when the 49ers went.
Yeah.
Okay. Go on.
So you got to convince something like that to go back to back. That's not an easy task to do. But their drive for a team this young, this hungry now, because they feel like they should have won this game. They feel like this was their time. Everybody was like, this is Cam Newton's time. This is the Carolina Panthers' time. They're 15-1. This is their time.
Yeah.
I don't see 15-1, but I see a highly competitive team coming in the playoffs next year. I see them easily winning that division.
All right, Khalid, what do you think how good the Panthers will be next season?
I agree with Rashad. I do think that their loss in the Super Bowl didn't hinder them. It's more so a learning experience. They know what to do. They kind of like know how to adjust against Super Bowl defense like that. And I know next year they'll probably come back with a drive to tackle strong defenses like that, and maybe even go for the Broncos again if the Broncos can make it. So I do think that they'll be a very strong team next year. NFC, they do have strong teams and do change throughout the season, but I feel like with the Panthers staying the way they are and with the motive, like the drive they have right now, I do think they'll be very successful next year.
So these are the odds that I saw on ESPN for people's odds to win the next Super Bowl. And as it stands right now, New England's in a 3-way tie with Seattle and Pittsburgh. They're both 8-1 favorites. Then Carolina's 10-1. And then Carolina's tied for 10-1 with Arizona and Green Bay. Then Denver's 14-1, and then Cincinnati's 14-1. I agree with y'all that I feel like their drive will be there. But the only thing for me is that's the same way we felt about Seattle this year, wasn't it? When Seattle lost to New England on that goal line play last year, and everybody was talking about how they felt like they had unfinished business because they should have given the ball to beast mode at the goal line. And everybody thought Seattle would have been back this year because Seattle looked like the most complete team, especially adding Jimmy Graham. But then you see the first few games, Cam Chancellor's not there. Marshawn Lynch couldn't stay consistently healthy. Then Jimmy Graham goes out, and then Russell Wilson goes on this tear coming late in the end of the season, and then they get knocked out by the Panthers inevitably in the playoffs. But we all thought they would come back. I mean, who knows how many more runs the Seattle Seahawks would go on? But it's one of those things that you just don't ever know when you'll be back. Like we thought that Cardinals team a few years ago that played the Steelers would be back. After Kurt Warner led them there, and then we felt like they've been a good team, for the past 2 years or so. That's 2 to 3 years that they've been good enough a team to get to the Super Bowl, and then they haven't made it since. That
been fairly hurt too.
Yeah, they have been hurt. You're right, they have been hurt, but that's one of the things that plays into it though. Is your health? Your health plays it? I mean, can we say without a doubt that if the Patriots didn't get hurt so badly this season, they wouldn't have went back? Because think about it, the Patriots were undefeated when they were healthy, fully healthy. But then they lost so many players that they lost home field inevitably because they lost so many players that they just couldn't keep it up at each position. And then so they lost home field to Denver. So they have to go to Denver to play Denver there. And then you still weren't fully healthy in the playoffs. I mean, you did get Julian Edelman back. You got Daniel Amendola back, but you still didn't have Dion Lewis, and you didn't have some of your defensive players that stopped the run so that you could have limited C.J. Anderson and whoever else from running the football. So that plays a part in it. So, I mean, as we've seen that even the Panthers starting out the season, their health stuff, I mean, their best wide receiver wasn't healthy to start the season. I mean, it just so happens that they found talent in people like Corey Brown. And I mean, everybody's always know that Ted Ginn Jr. was a speedster, but we even seen that Ted Ginn Jr. sometimes can drop catches, as we saw yesterday. He dropped a couple of passes. One of them was a pass that Cam Newton rocketed to him to get it into him, and he let it go right through his hands, and it was picked off. So you look at things like that, and you're just like, well.
And they that field position where they was at for that when that happened.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a scoring range.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. They either got a field goal or a touchdown out of that. If Ted Ginn Jr. catches that ball, who knows how far he can go with the run, because he had Green in front of him. The only dude that was gonna be in front of him was the dude that picked off the pass, and that guy was at an angle that Ted Ginn Jr. could have outran him. So you look at plays like that, and you sit there and you think, man, like if for a team to get back to the Super Bowl, it's one of the hardest things to do in professional sports, is to get back to the Super Bowl. That's why if the Seattle Seahawks would have went back at this year again, it would have been one of the biggest accomplishments in sports history, because to get back to 3 straight Super Bowls is no small feat. Even the Patriots weren't able to do it. I mean, the Patriots won it in the early 2000s. They were constantly going to the Super Bowl, but going to 3 back to back is difficult. It's not like the NBA.
Your team changes, the teams around you change.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like the NBA where we can see LeBron. Because I mean, the NBA is where one player can have that much impact. The NBA where you can see Jordan or LeBron or Kobe and Shaq reel off 3 back-to-back NBA Finals appearances. I mean, LeBron's been to 5 straight, and people are assuming it's going to be a 6th this year. So the NFL is a different game because there's so many facets to it that one player can only do so much. And
also you got to take in fact that NBA is 7 games.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
like
7 games.
As you saw do we honestly think the Panthers will have another bad game like this if they play the Broncos again? Like this terrible. I don't see the Panthers playing this terrible again. If they played again today. If it was a 7-game series, same type thing. I think the Panthers would be like, hey, like we didn't make the plays ourselves to beat them. Like we had drop passes, Cam missed throws. The refs played a part in it to an extent, but they allowed sacks. They had too many turnovers. They didn't capitalize on turnovers. There was a couple of plays that we thought Josh Norman had a pick, and then he didn't catch the ball. Yeah, you know what I mean? So I mean, that's an interesting question, actually. That's why I like the NBA. Like, you have one bad game in the NBA.
Yeah, that's
you okay.
In the NBA,
you can lose the first game and then still win 4 straight.
Yeah, and we saw with the Warriors.
The thing with the NBA is they get home field advantage too. They get to play in their own state.
That's true. That's very true. And yesterday, it felt like, even though it was a neutral field, I mean, it felt like there was way more Denver Bronco fans there. Like, I feel like the cheers I was hearing was, Denver's closer to San Francisco than Carolina is, so it's obviously easier for those fans to travel than Carolina fans to travel all that way. But that's actually great. So if y'all feel like, I mean, we know it never will happen, but just hypothetically speaking, how much different do y'all think these games would be if there was 7-game series type games? I mean, that's a lot of work on a football player's body. But imagine that if you get to play Carolina 7 times, if you're Seattle, if Minnesota gets to play you 7 times.
3-game series.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Like if Minnesota gets to play Seattle 3 or however many times, 5 times if you're going to a 3-game series. That's interesting.
I think it would be so different.
Really? Yeah, it would be different. That's actually an interesting question. Actually, I really wonder that. We should probably ask that sometime in the future. But moving on to the next topic. Actually, going on to basketball, we were just talking about the NBA. This past Saturday, the Warriors and the Thunder. We had that matchup that we all been talking about. We've been waiting for that. We even had a caller call in to talk about this same topic with us, and it was a pretty good game. It was. Throughout most of the game, it seemed as though the Warriors were going to run away with it, but the Thunder just never really were letting up. Really, they were always kind of consistently with the Warriors, and they ended up just only losing by 8 points. So you look at it like that. It was 108-116, and throughout most of the game, especially. But here the game started. The Thunder came out, punched the Warriors in the mouth right away. They were making tough shots. They came out for 9-0 lead, but then I think I told Rashad at one point when we were watching the game, I was like, man, the Warriors are about to come back and start putting the work on the Thunder, because the Thunder were making tough contested shots, and it seemed like the Warriors are getting easy shots, but they just weren't making them. And I mean, if you look at the numbers, this is the thing that baffles me, because you look at the numbers. The Thunder shot better from three. They shot 31% from three. The Warriors only made 7 threes. They shot 26%, 27% essentially from three. The Thunder made way more free throws. They were 29 of 37. The Warriors were 13 of 20. The Thunder actually out rebounded the Warriors. They 50 to 46. They had 2 less assists. It was 22 to 24. Thunder had more steals. The Thunder had more blocks. The Thunder did have more turnovers, which can cost you in a game like this. The Thunder had the least amount of fouls. They were down in fast break points by 1 point. So you look at it like that, and you're like, man, the Thunder it seemed like they were in a position to win this game, but the Warriors pulled it out. So what do you guys think about this game? Did we see kind of like a pre-glimpse of what could we can maybe expect in the Western Conference Finals or just in the playoffs in general with the Thunder and Warriors matchup? And from that game, do y'all feel like the Thunder are the best matchup to knock off the Warriors? Khaled, let me hear what you got to say first. What do you think?
I think because I think the question that you asked was, did the Thunder, like for the topic, was the Thunder like find a break in the Warriors' armor?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they did. I think they just kept up with the Warriors. You got Kevin Durant shooting, making 40 points. You got Russell Westbrook making 26 points. 27. Yeah. And you see them just scoring so efficiently. But it's just that the Warriors have so many people to score for them. And like OKC, all we saw was really KD making those incredible shots and Russell Westbrook. So I do think that I think they really kept their pace with the Warriors in the 7-game series. I think that they'll keep up with them. I'm not sure about them beating them, but they definitely do have the offensive capability to keep up with the Warriors from what I've seen.
All right, Rashad, what do you think?
Nah. This Thunder team didn't do anything more than what Milwaukee and them did against them. You played a team that shot bad, a team that there's down by the 3. They shot pitiful from 3-point, and they still won. So what does that say about the Thunder? You're playing a team that averages about 15 made threes a game, or something like that.
Yeah.
And they hit less than half of that, and you still lose. So you did one part of your game plan right, but you did the other part. So every game they're not going to shoot like that. Every game they're not going to hold Steph to under 50% shooting. Klay Thompson shot 8 for 15. He was above 50%. But you're not gonna hold these people to like 26 points and 18 points. Nah. Every game, and you still lose. Milwaukee at least won. They at least won when they did it, but they lost. So they showed me nothing. Yes. Now to the other question you said, this is the best matchup for them in the playoffs. I do think it's still the best matchup because we saw how that pace went for both teams. That's what both teams do. Both teams get up and run. So it wasn't harder for another team to do what the other team was doing because that's what they both do. Mm-hmm. That's where it's a better matchup for them other than San Antonio, who goes a slower tempo. San Antonio may have a better team, but it doesn't fit the same pace they run. This team, at least, nothing changes for their game plan. Their game plan is still the same. But did it show anything wrong with it? It didn't show nothing more than what Milwaukee showed. Just showed them shooting bad. They still win, though. But hey, it's Golden State Warriors for you. That's why they're on pace to break the record right now.
I agree with y'all because I agree with you that because the Thunder because the Warriors didn't shoot efficiently from 3, but the Thunder's defense had a great part to do with that because they were running the Warriors off the 3-point line. So there were open looks the Warriors had that they did miss that they normally would hit, but the Thunder also did do a good job of forcing like Steph Curry to get off the 3-point line, which where we saw Steph and them wheeling and dealing from under the 3-point line. That's why you saw a player like Maurice Spates and the bench coming in, and they were being productive because they had a lot of open shots because Steven Adams and Russell Westbrook and pick and roll would come. Russell Westbrook had to go over picks, and Steven Adams had to show hard in order for Steph Curry not to be able to shoot a 3. But then it leaves players like Maurice Spates and whoever else open. But I think a big stat that played a part in this game was the fact that the Warriors bench scored 42 points. and the Thunder's bench only scored 17. Like, you need more help from your bench. Like, Cameron Payne went 1 of 7 from the field shooting, and he only had 3 points. Anthony Morrow went 0 of 3. Kyle Singler went 0 of 1. Where you look at the Warriors bench, Maurice Spates had 15 points. Sean Livingston had 10 points. Barbosa had 9 points. Andre Iguodala had 8 points. And that was honestly the stretch where the lead got away from the Thunders when their bench came in, because that was a point in time where they didn't have Russell Westbrook or Kevin Durant in. And that was when they just started getting run out of the building by the Warriors, when their bench came in, because the Warriors bench came in and shot efficiently. Every player on the Warriors bench, except for Brandon Rush, shot over 50%. Like, that's crazy. Almost 60%. Actually, almost over 60%, because each one of them, Sean Livingston, 4 of 7. Leonardo Barbosa, 4 of 6. Maurice Spates, 6 of 10. Andre Iguodala, 4 of 6. So they did their job against the starters. Like, the starters, they limited most of the starters. Like, Draymond Green went 3 of 9. He didn't get the triple-double he's normally accustomed to getting, because the Thunder's defense, I mean, granted, the first half, the Thunder played awful on defense. They gave us 73 points. You can't give us 73 points and expect to win the game. It's not going to happen in the first half. But the second half, they held the Warriors under 40 points. So, actually, no, they held them just about 40 points, because they finished with 116. So what's that? The first half they had 73. So that's what, 43 points in the second half. So they did a way better job at defending the Warriors in the second half, and then that's how they got back into the game. But I think initially when that bench came in, that's one thing that's been the Thunder's weakness for the whole season, because they don't have Andre Roberson that comes off of that normally starts in place of Dion Waiters, and now without him in the lineup, you have to bring Dion Waiters off the bench, who was your primary scorer, most cases from the bench. So now when you force Dion Waiters into a starting role, it limits your bench scoring, where you have to go to Enes Kanter the most of the time. And it frustrates me when you know that you have the Warriors go small, and you know you have a low post scorer, but then I feel like every team resorts to playing the Warriors game and just always going outside. Because if Draymond Green isn't in the game, I mean, you at least try and post him up, because if your bench is in the game and you know Enes Kanter can score from the post, why are you going away from the post and having Cameron Payne jack up threes? I guess he's Steph Curry. It doesn't make any sense to me. And Enes Kanter only took 10 shots, and yet and then he went 7 of 10. So that shows when he was in the game he was effective. Yeah, he was effective. So he was 14 and 15. He went 14. He has 15 rebounds and 14 points in 20 minutes of play. Like those are good numbers. And the Thunder actually made sure they stayed big even when the Warriors went small with the depth lineup. And it was working for them, because in pick and rolls, the Warriors were struggling to guard them because Russell Westbrook is so explosive off a pick and roll. Like, he's hard to keep up with. They had to take Stephen Curry off of him because he couldn't guard him. And you see they even struggle to guard Kevin Durant. But then here's the thing that the Thunder always do late in games that everybody always says is their Achilles heel. The Thunder resort to 1-2 ball. It's either Kevin Durant or it's Russell Westbrook. You know what I mean? It's always one of them two. They just go out of playing that team ball that got them back in the game in general. Because what got them back in the game was Russell Westbrook running the pick and roll, or Kevin Durant running the pick and roll, and the Warriors. And then you have Dion Waiters even in the corner or somewhere, and the Warriors can't leave him because he can shoot the three. But then they're too small at the rim to protect the rim, apart from Draymond Green. And Steven Adams and Enes Kanter can finish around the rim. So then you can dump the ball off to those guys, and then you get a layup or something, or you get fouled. And that's when the Thunder were making a run back. But then when you have Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant taking ill-advised threes, like Kevin Durant hit one of those threes, but he was jacking the threes in that fourth quarter. And some of them were just – you're just like, why would you take a shot like that? I think there was one point he took a three when nobody was even set up to get the rebound. And it resulted in the Warriors getting a fast break bucket because the alignment on the court spacing was wrong, because he took a three that nobody was expecting. So the Warriors got a fast break bucket easily off of it. And you look at those things, and there's a lot of things that you could take away from the game. I feel like I definitely saw the fact that the Thunder weren't going to let the Warriors play their style, their three-ball basketball. But I feel like they took that away only to let them play into another style of basketball that they play, which is Yeah, the free flow basketball, I would say, is kind of, that's how I describe it. It's free flow, where they just kind of go off of whatever's happening. Like there was times where I saw I forgot who, it was Mark Jackson, when they were calling the game, and he said that on those pick and rolls, that when Russell Westbrook is coming over, you can't have your hands down and let Steph Curry pass a line drive pass to Maurice Space or whoever else to get an open shot, jump shot. You have to put your hands up, so he has to lob it over you in order to get it to that player and give your big man time to get back. And it's things like that, just those small little plays that if you don't make them, the Warriors will always beat you. But, I mean, from what we saw, it looks as though the Thunder were the team that matched up the best against the Warriors. Like Rashad was saying, that they seem to match up athletically and be that team that can, keep up with the Warriors on the perimeter, because the Warriors weren't getting the most open looks. The Thunder were able to rotate fast enough to contest the Warriors' threes and make them feel uncomfortable getting the threes, or make them shoot the threes at a faster rate, or second guess the threes. And when you take that three-point marksmanship away from the Warriors, and if the Thunder's bench doesn't get outscored 42-17, this is an entirely different game possibly. But I mean, that's part of what makes the Warriors great, is their depth. But
can I say something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
See, I know people are probably listening, probably talking about. I mean, they shot 26 threes. That's a lot of threes. Like when you say limited off the threes, for those who don't know, the Golden State Warriors shoot between 30 and 40 a game.
Yeah.
So they shot 26, which is well below what they shot against the Bulls. I think they shot 40 against the Bulls. They shot 32 against the Cavs, and they shot 40 against the Wizards.
That's a lot.
And they shot 26 against the Thunder. So the Thunder, actually, like Brendan said, the Thunder did do a good job of getting them off the three-point line, because they limited up to 26 threes.
Yeah.
Which is what they hit in some games.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? And it's like games like that when they're hitting those threes, like, because the three-point basket is the most deadly shot in the game. I mean, when we were watching the game, and it was so funny because Klay Thompson had hit a three that made it a 6-point game. And Rashad was like, it's something about the three-point shot that just takes the momentum out. It takes the air out of the game. It takes the soul out. And it's like, it's just one more point. But it's just the fact that it's a three-pointer. Like, knowing that you're down by 6 instead of 5, knowing that you're down by 3 instead of 2 is just so demoralizing. And that's what the Warriors do. They just hit those threes that demoralize you. But the Thunder did a good job of making sure they never really got demoralized throughout the game, apart from when their bench came in and gave up that huge run by the Warriors bench.
They really kept up. And
yeah,
the bench would have scored, did good scoring too.
They probably would have won if the Thunder bench can keep up and be consistent. That's one thing that I just don't understand about the Thunder. I mean, granted, like I said earlier, that Dion Waiters is normally a bench player who will get them bench scoring. He normally runs the offense sometimes on the bench. But that's one thing the Thunder didn't do during the game, because when Stephen Curry was guarding Dion Waiters, they had him just be a spot up. Sure, I'm like, why don't you put him in pick and rolls with Stephen Curry? I think I heard Mark Jackson say the same thing. I was like,
pick and roll with Kevin Durant.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, force them, like, you're force pick and roll action that they can't switch on, or if they do switch, it results with Stephen Curry guarding Kevin Durant. Like, that's the matchup you want. You want undersized Steph to have to guard Kevin Durant. And then on the other end, I mean, even when they switched, because the Warriors, the Thunder were switching too, but the Thunder showed they can switch with the Warriors, because there was plenty of times Dion Waiters was stuck on Draymond Green in the post, and he played great defense on him. He played excellent defense, because Dion Waiters he's a good defender. I mean, he has that physicality to his game that if you're trying to bump him, he's not just going to get, bumped all the way under the basket. He's going to give you push back. And it showed that that's what helped them be able to stay in it when they went to that lineup with those four. I think it was Russell, Kevin Durant, Dion Waiters, Anthony Morrow, and Steven Adams or Enes Kanter interchangeably, because they took Enes Kanter out inevitably. But when you see that lineup and you see that the Thunder can match up with them, but I mean, it's just all about if you can get the help from your bench. And if at the end of the game you can't have it be Russell and Kevin Durant, because that goes back to what everybody's talking about with Scott Brooks, how the offense, it felt like sometimes with so much ISO coming to late game situations that everybody, it was either Kevin Durant looking at Russell Westbrook like, hey, is it you or is it me? Is it going to be you or me? And Russell Westbrook is like, oh, I think it should be you, because everybody's getting on me about my shot selection.
So 8 for 22 right now, so it should be.
Yeah,
I'm shooting 8 for 22. Go ahead, Durant.
Yeah, you got it, KD. But then it's like then Kevin Durant takes a three it's not even like it's an open three. He takes a three that's like 3 feet behind the 3-point line and it's contested. So you're just like,
I got to a better shot than that. I shoot regular shots.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's like man, like that's the best thing you could have came up with out of a late game situation. But That's.
I'm gonna tell you why he didn't beat them though. I'm gonna tell you why he only dropped 40.
He only dropped 40.
He only dropped 40. He's like, you know what? I could have did more, but I still want to get signed here next year. So,
that's a question too. That's a question in the next offseason. Where will Kevin Durant end up? But we'll talk about that in the hopefully in the near future. You know, he'll give an answer on it sometime. But NBA free agency isn't until June, so we won't know until then. But going on to the last topic of the day, actually, it's kind of like a free for whatever topic, whoever feels. Because the question is, what was the biggest storyline coming out of Super Bowl 50? Do y'all believe? And I mean, I'm pretty sure all three of us have different opinions of what the biggest story is coming out of it. So, Khaled, let me hear your story first. What do you think the biggest storyline is coming out of Super Bowl 50? From the whole game, the post-game stuff. What do you think the biggest story is coming out of it?
I think it'll definitely be Peyton Manning's retirement. Because they asked him that, like, is this gonna be your last game or the last year you play? But he never really answered. So
he's gonna drink a lot of beer.
Budweiser.
Yeah.
He ain't even sponsored by them.
No.
So I think that's definitely going to be a big story, like whether or not this is going to be his last time playing, or whether he sees himself playing with the Broncos next year. Because, like you said, he could definitely ride passenger seat on that team. But
I don't know if that team looked the same, honestly. They got a lot of free agents. Von Miller's a free agent.
That's a lot of money that they don't have.
Yeah,
the Jaguars and Raiders do.
Go on, Colin.
But yeah, and without Peyton Manning being clear about what he want to do, and people still questioning whether or not he should still stay, I think that they're gonna be trying to get that out of him from now until whenever. So I think that's definitely gonna be one of the biggest stories. You know, apart with just Cam Newton and his just like breakdown. I guess that's what they want to call it.
All right, Rashad, what do you think the biggest story that's coming out of it?
You know, Brendan, I feel like we got the same story here. I feel like when I say my story, it'll be like it's gonna be the same story. But the biggest story coming out the Super Bowl was the picture that Marshawn Lynch posted during the Super Bowl saying that it's over with, basically, hanging the cleats up.
Beast mode.
That is the biggest story of the Super Bowl. Won't even have nothing to do with the Super Bowl.
Beast mode.
But it was Marshawn Lynch basically saying it's over.
Mm-hmm.
That was the biggest story.
That is a big story for me because Marshawn Lynch has terrorized my team for years. I'm a Rams fan and being in the NFC West, having to see him 2 times every year, it's just, man, how many times you got to see somebody dive into the end zone like it's just so much, man. He just runs all over your team all the time. But honestly, we have differing stories, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I feel like the biggest story that's being made out of this is Cam Newton's walking off in the post-game interviews. And everybody's talking about how they don't feel like he showed enough as a leader of the team. He didn't show enough class or whatever to stay up. But the thing is, for me, he answered questions. He did answer questions. And then after one question that he was asked, he got up and left during the post-game interview. But here's the thing that people seem to just leave out, and this leave out of the whole equation. For one, who wants to talk after a big game, a huge loss?
The Super Bowl.
I'll ask Rashad this question because he's been to the championship game. Rashad, after you lost, and this isn't even the Super Bowl, and you lost y'all championship game. How did y'all want to talk really after y'all lost y'all championship game?
So when we lost our junior year, we had to receive these medals for second place. We stay on the field and watch the other team celebrate. And they tried to get us to speak to every representative who handed out the medals.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody on my team said a thing.
Yeah.
We took the second place medal. We didn't say nothing in the locker room. We didn't say nothing on the bus. We're supposed to go eat. We didn't even want to eat no more. Like you don't want to speak. Like it hurts when you lose. Like losing in the biggest game of the season is the most devastating thing there is. So
it's painful. You know what I mean? And everybody's criticizing Cam Newton because they say that he shouldn't have he should have spoken more. I'd like to see somebody give a speech after they just lost the NBA Finals, after they lost the Super Bowl. Like I would love to see somebody give a drawn out speech. I mean, not everybody's perfect Peyton Manning is gonna give a perfect speech about how I got whooped 43-8 or whatever when it happened to him a few years ago against Seattle. And Cam Newton's knowingly been emotional throughout his whole career. I'm not saying he handled it perfectly. Yes, I don't feel like he should have gotten up in the middle of a question and gotten up and left. But another reason why I believe that they are not giving him enough credit for how he handled it, because sometimes it's better not to say it too much and say the wrong thing than to say nothing at all. Because what nobody realizes is that they had the Broncos players in the same room interviewing them, and you can hear the Broncos players being asked a question, or Chris Harris. You can hear Chris Harris being asked the questions about their game plan and how they locked up the passing game of the Panthers. And Cam Newton's sitting there listening to them while he's being asked his questions. And so you expect him to be able to sit there and just listen to the happy, jubilant players talk about how we just shut them down, locked them down, and answer his question. You expect them to sit through the whole thing and just listen to that? Like that's just unreal expectation. Like
they were also asking the same repetitive questions to him, like,
yeah,
what does defense just do to you? A couple questions later. So how does defense do that to you?
Yeah, like it's like
the same thing.
I'm just so aggravated. Like, I just heard this question. Yeah, and I'm already feeling salty about it or upset about it. Not salty.
You know what I'm
saying? Feeling upset about it, and I gotta hear it again.
And you can only imagine how he feels, because granted, however many critics he has or whatever, because they even showed it on Twitter on the ESPN poll, how many, or on the NFL Inside actually. The amount of tweets, the negative tweets Cam Newton has had, the tweets referring to him as the N-word with a hard ER on the end, as a effing word, ER, whatever. You saw so many things on Twitter that were just negative, connotations of Cam Newton. And all he's done this season is played. While they played, you could say they played with a cocky or arrogance around them. At the end of the day, they were having fun. At the end of the season, that's what they're doing. They're having fun. And I've noticed people don't seem to like it when the team's having, because I mean that's the same way people felt about the Legion of Boom a few years ago. People felt like the Legion of Boom was too full of themselves, but they backed up the numbers. And the Panthers have backed up the number. While the Legion of Boom maybe not have danced and stuff, Richard Sherman was very, he was very expressive with how he carried himself. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? He never showed any remorse in calling himself the best cornerback in football. You know what I'm saying? He was always very open with how he felt about whenever they go into play a team, that the Legion of Boom was going to show up, and they never hit that. And Cam Newton has never showed that same expressiveness. All he's done is he's been cheery, he's been happy, he's been go fun, go lucky. Cam Newton throughout the season.
Yes, he's been glad he's been winning.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, how do they expect you to act when you're winning? Of course you're going to be happy. Like, Cam Newton is a different guy than Tom Brady. He's a different guy than Peyton Manning. He's a different guy than Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, like he said, he embraces his roots. He embraces the dab, and he embraces the dancing. But now I feel like this also weighs on him so much more, because now he just has to hear his critics say, "Oh, now I hope you're humbled. I hope you're happy with that loss at home. I hope it'll teach you something about character." What is it going to teach him about character? That giving a kid a football is not good character? I don't know what to take out of it, because I mean I'm not by any means justifying that he handled it perfectly, but when people are talking about his character, I haven't seen any football player being willing to take fines to give footballs to young children. Show me a football player who's been willing to take fines to do that consistently, week in and week out. Cam Newton got fined to an extent for every football he gave to those kids and his teammates as well. So people want to talk about how the Panthers didn't handle this well, didn't do this and that. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's like character. Like, I understand that they lost. Yeah, I understand he's the face of the franchise, possibly the face of the NFL. But when you lose that championship game and you had so much weight on your shoulders, and you feel like, and I even heard Brian Dawkins come on Mike and Mike this morning. Was talking about how it's one of those things that you never know if you're going to get back there, because he as an Eagle, when they went back in 2003, I believe, he as an Eagle, you're giving that interview. You don't know if you're going to come back. No championship is ever guaranteed. You never know if you're going to get back there again. Especially in the NFL, it's so difficult to get back in the NFL. You never know when you get back. It could possibly be the hardest place to return as a champion or even get back to the Super Bowl. You don't know when you're going to get back, because that you feel like this was such a Cinderella storybook season for the Panthers. But now think about it. Every team knows about them now. So nobody's going to come in and just let the Panthers go under the radar like they did this season. Everybody knows about the Panthers now. And so they're going to be on the radar, and they're going to be on the map, and teams are going to be looking to, knock off the team that was number one in the NFC, or the team that knocked them off prior. So it's like, I hear so many skeptics, so many critics, and I'm just like, man, give the dude a break. I think I saw a guy on Twitter say, "Oh, LeBron's lost 4 NBA finals, and you haven't heard him be upset in the post-game press conference."
Wow.
I was like, hold on a second. So LeBron James definitely didn't say, "Oh, I know everybody wanted me to lose." I'm paraphrasing here just to be noted, but LeBron James wasn't the same guy that said, "Oh, I may have lost or whatever." You know, I know there's a lot of people that wanted me and my team to lose, but at the end of the day, I love my life. You know, I'm gonna keep living my life. I'm gonna be happy. But everybody that wanted us to lose, they had to go back to their same everyday lives, everyday jobs. So LeBron James took a jab at every person that wanted him to lose. You know what I'm saying? He said, y'all have to go back to your regular 9 to 5s while I get to live it up in my $1 million mansion. And he's not lying. He does. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? He's telling the truth. He gets to live it up with his money and stuff. But LeBron James is the same dude that took a shot at everybody that wanted him to lose. And Cam Newton didn't do that. Cam Newton just kept quiet. He just gave his subtle answers. Not like he ignored the reporters. And then after a while, after hearing enough questions and hearing the Chris Harris interview going on in the right next to him, you know, in the same room, he just decided to get up and leave before he said something that he regretted. And I feel like that deserves a little, you know, some kind of, you know, acknowledgement, you know, for him to show the maturity to just say nothing at all than to say something that could have been detrimental to the franchise and his team. But
I feel like people have been waiting to just like slander him.
They
just
oh yeah.
No reason. Like, and here, the dabbing from the
and
everything. The laws.
Bro, I can't. I bet you I can't. I probably can't. There's probably way more people that wanted Cam Newton to lose the Super Bowl than actual people wanted the Broncos to win. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like people. It wasn't because
like, I hope they lose instead of I hope the Broncos win.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. It's not like people were like, oh yeah, Peyton Manning, get your last ring. It was people saying, oh, I hope Cam Newton goes home with a loss and whatever, because they just couldn't stand Cam Newton. And I
don't understand. Man,
and you know the funny thing is, this is why I realized social media is the worst place to be on after a game. Yeah. Because I saw so many memes of the Michael Jordan crying face with Cam Newton and his teammates. But you know the funny thing is, weren't those the same people a few days ago that were riding Cam Newton and them and doing dabs and piping it up because of Cam Newton? Funny, huh? Funny. When the team loses, yeah. Once they lose, everybody's
riding the bandwagon.
Everybody's ready with yeah, exactly. Once they lose, everybody's riding the bandwagon. I bet you, had the Panthers have won, all we would have saw was dabbing and stuff. You know what I'm saying? But everybody to each their own. To each their own. I just realized now.
You gotta leave that man alone.
That I'm happy for Peyton Manning. I'm happy for Peyton Manning, and that.
I don't think Eli was though.
Oh man, Eli. Yeah.
I don't think Eli was.
When they showed that touchdown, Eli said, "Damn it." He was like, "Come on, Cam, you're messing me up at family reunions. Thanksgivings, I can't say I got 2 no more."
You want the ammunition?
Yeah,
so we got 2.
Yeah, right. We got 2 now. Like Eli legit hurt. I felt so. I was so weak just looking at that. Like just showing them, everybody showing the clip. I was so weak. But for real, and at the end of the day, I mean, it's congratulations to the Denver Broncos. You know, they're 2015, 2016 champions. They came to San Fran, handled their business. They sent the Panthers home with the L. There's going to be different stories coming out of this. And actually, there's a story now talking about how, oh, wow, Derek Fisher got fired. And the Knicks were playing better. Wow. And LaShawn McCoy, oh, my gosh, he got into an altercation over the weekend with 3 off-duty police officers and apparently assaulted them.
If you don't get arrested, come to Western Name. We need to run it back.
You said come to Jacksonville.
Because you know the Bills, Rick Fine ain't going to deal with that, so.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy! All this breaking news right at the end of the show. Wow. Well, guys, man, that's crazy. I can't believe Derek Fisher got fired. That's kind of the one that just gets me. But guys, that's gonna wrap it up for today. It's KBR Sports, the best sports talk show of your 24-hour day on WODU Studios, the best in college radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at KBR Sports, where you can see our past shows and past segments. And make sure you subscribe and tell others to subscribe as well.
Follow us on Twitter too,
so we can get the name out there. And follow us, yeah, like Colin said, follow us at Twitter at KBR_sports, where you can see us tweet all the links for each show before we go on all the topics for the shows and everything that's KBR Sports. And also subscribe to the WODU Live YouTube channel. You can see past shows and other shows on there, and follow the WODU Studios YouTube channel. Twitter page, where they tweet about all the shows on the that come on this network. All right, y'all have a great day.